Good afternoon and welcome to the next in the series of successful introvert workshops. My name is Brian Johnson and I'm the host. It's really great to be here this afternoon. Just a bit of background about me. So I come from a background of working in financial services for about 30 years, and for those I really struggled as an introvert. I was very quiet and frustrated about how things were going and desperately trying to be who I was not. And this really took me a long time to learn how to find the success I wanted without changing who I am at. And along the way I picked up lots of different skills, and a few years ago you wouldn't have found me being comfortable talking in front of an audience about who I am and my background. And overcoming that and creating the change has been a part of the journey I've on. And probably about 3 or 4 years ago I realized where my real passion was, and it's really helping people create the change they want in their lives. It always brings a smile to my face to see people realize they can achieve their potential of being who they are. And so today, as we continue this series, today is really focusing on an area which often feels quite important to people, is successfully managing your boss. I know I've worked in situations where I've really struggled with the relationship with my boss, and Monday morning has really, there's been a bit of a sense of dread and fear of what's going on. And that sense of actually almost wanting to avoid seeing my boss on a regular basis has been a situation I've been in. It took me a long time to figure out actually who's in control of that situation, who's in control, and what can I do differently. And for me, the first starting point is that really notice what you are feeling. So it's on a Monday morning when you walk into the office or connecting with your work colleagues, how are you feeling? Is there a sense of dread, despair? And how you can avoid interacting with your boss? They aren't around. I know there was a time when I would struggle with actually what to say. If you want to add any comments, thoughts in the chat, please feel free to. And this is really the starting point, is thinking about, actually, you may notice the sense of fear and dread. And really the basis is actually not getting lost in those negative thoughts, but actually noticing they are there, and thinking about actually what difference will it make to you when you have better communication, when you're connecting better, relating better to your boss within the work environment. How will you feel different? What will it bring to you? What difference will it make to your work environment? Will you feel happier? Or is it going to help your career progression? What's going to happen to the work you get offered, for example? You're going to get more of the interesting projects you want to do. Is your boss going to know what you enjoy doing? You're going to feel a sense of appreciation. Your idea is actually going to be listened to. Really, you're going to go into work and feel, actually, this is a place I want to be. This is a team I want to work with. Sometimes it's worth really starting with being clear on what you want to go. Have that vision, that idea, that picture, that image in your mind. Actually, what is it I want to gain from changing the relationship? If you're happy with where things are, that's great. If there's things, if you're not, really thinking about what's next, what you can change. That's really what we're thinking about today. Let's move then. And actually, if we want to be in control of the situation, one of the important things to do is be able to see the situation from someone else's viewpoint. You're thinking, are you unhappy with your relationship with your boss? What do you think they view you as? And one way to process, just imagine you're, you're standing looking at your boss about 6 feet away, and just actually flip where you're standing. Just imagine you're your boss looking at you. It's about the emotions they're feeling. What are they sensing when they see you? What do you think they are feeling? What thoughts are racing through their mind? What are they wishing you would do? What do they want from you? You are spending a little time thinking about those sort of questions. What do they see when they look at you? What are the words that come to mind? What they want from you? What they wish you would do differently? And maybe, take a few minutes just to think through. Running through this sort of exercise is really powerful because we often are locked into our own thoughts and I wish they would do something different. Oh, I don't know what I should be doing. It's only when we start noticing what is going on, thinking about actually from someone else's point of view, taking control of the situation. What does it actually want? Isn't that it's just reflecting how they engage with other people? Realizing everyone is different. Some people like direct, clear, concise answers, solutions to problems. Other people want a general chit chat. Others want to be the central attention. They want to give you detailed instructions on how you should solve problems, how things are done. There's a whole spectrum. It's just really actually what do they want from you? What are you not delivering to them to make you feel successful? So looking at them through their eyes, it's really worth pausing for 30 seconds just to get clear on that. And then if taking that image, you've got you standing on one side of the room, them on the other. What would an impartial observer looking in see you two are interacting? What do they notice about your communication? Are you clashing? What is the issue that is stopping there being a better relationship? What would they notice? Just thinking aloud, what do they notice? You avoid eye contact. Is your body language clashing? You're very closed up. Are you both very closed up? One or both of you closed up, not really communicating? Are you avoiding long conversations? Is the list of yes, no question. How do you look? How do you think either person feels? When you just think about that relationship, you've got an opportunity to use the knowledge you can gain from looking at the situation from someone else's viewpoint. What you have learned. Notice where you see conflict. Are you not communicating? Are you providing the wrong information to your boss? You're not using his or her language. There's so much power. Noticing the power of the language we use, how we can change the words we use to engage. We all have a different style of speaking. We all have a preference for speaking styles and words. Some are more visually, they look, they see, they hear. Others are touching, they have a sense of engagement. Things resonate with them. But it's more feely, touchy, the pressure, the thrust of the argument. There's a flow to what things are going on, and they get a firm grip of what's going on. They're really pushing for results. Where someone might be just being tuned with what's going on, and actually noticing the language someone's using, and you can reflect some of that back, and just make that huge amount of difference. Not changing anything about who you are. You're just using your amazing intelligence and wisdom to communicate in a way that engages more them. I'm really thinking about how you can change how you interact. And the big point here is really just to write down 5 things you can do right now. What is it that you can do right now to change how you interact with them? I know that I'm quite a direct person, and what I learned is that actually there are times I needed to change the way I communicated, do more actually feeling soft and formal chat, and being that super task focused person. One of the things which really became a task was to be actually feeling engaged in conversation with other people. And sometimes it's just thinking about practical things. It's a big thing, language, a small thing. How do you engage with your boss first thing in the morning, last thing at night, at lunchtime? When do they see you as a human being? What conversations have you had with them? Really something you can reflect on now and reflect on later, think about later. What is it you could change where you interact, make a difference? Always comes to what could be different if I change my approach. That's your questions. You ask yourself here, what will I regret about not doing? I often start when I'm thinking about, I need to change something. What's the worst that could happen? And often the worst that can happen is you're going to be in exactly the same boat you are at the moment. So in effect, anything that changes that is a bonus. And if you can be comfortable with the worst outcome, does it matter if someone thinks you're even weirder and stranger than you are now? What difference is that difference that going to make? Sudden changes may surprise people. They wonder what happened, and it's making changes which should be consistent are an important thing. What would happen if you weren't there? How can I approach an event in a different way? What will I enjoy about an event at work, for example? What will I enjoy about engagement? What would make that enjoyable? Changing our mindset is quite important. It's knowing that it's not where we want it to be. It's finding that way forward which really matters. A big question I'd quite find: what do other like-minded people do? People I think are like me actually do that different. It's noticing actually the differences you can make, the things you can do. There's always something you can do. Just creating that open mindset. What is it I can do? For instance, think about, what does your boss want from you on Monday morning? What's his focus? First, my focus, first thing on Monday morning. Do they want that detailed update on everything? Do they want to chat about the weekend? Can you meet their needs on your terms? What are you comfortable talking about? What do you need to do? Sometimes thinking, actually, who else can you involve? Is it easier for 2 or 3 people to be involved in a conversation? Success comes through planning. Planning for initial interactions can be really helpful. Going in there, hating something, not planning to do something different, just leaves you in the same situation, knowing that you didn't like what happened, you hated what happened last week. What can I do different this week? What am I going to do? Sometimes it's about defining boundaries as well. Clear on where the boundaries are. You don't feel comfortable getting drawn into a 10-minute conversation about last weekend's sports results. You don't have to. For instance, they're in, someone's into football, cricket, tennis, knowing the sports results would be helpful. Football fan, oh, I saw your team Saturday, lost on Saturday. It just says, actually, that just creates that personal connection. You don't have to get drawn into a long conversation. One sentence. Or sometimes I think, yeah, that's all they're playing in this competition. Everything they'll do. Again, you've opened up a conversation, you've created a different line, but knowing your boundaries, when you're going to stop that, it's fine. I'm clear on, you're not going to get more into long conversation. I've got to go and do something. That's really where the focus is. I know, for example, that I am never going to volunteer to do an hour speech in front of a crowd of people, because I know where my boundaries on speaking is. I know that doing public speaking is something that really drains my energy as an introvert, and I need to go and recharge every time after I do one of these presentations. I know, for example, that my normal level of energy is great for 20 minutes, and then I feel my social battery just draining away rapidly. And I know that limitation, I know my boundary, I know that actually immediately after I finish this workshop, I'm going to go out and recharge on my bike. I'm going for a cycle ride. The joys of being my own boss. I penciled in that time. I know my recharge routine. I know my boundaries. I meet people who would talk to you for 3 hours and you'd be overwhelmed with information. But for me, that's where my boundary lies. So I notice that is what I'm thinking and feeling at the moment. Today is really about helping you think, taking a step back. You're in control of your thoughts. If you're unhappy with the relationship with your boss, think about what you can do differently. Perhaps spend a little more time just looking at the world, firstly through their eyes, and then as an impartial observer looking at your relationship. Notice words and phrases that come out when you do that. Jot them down and just notice what they make you feel, and just what opportunities they give you. Information is power. Knowing the information about where you see the opportunities to change allows you to explore what the next step is. My big question is always, what will you do different this week? What one thing are you going to do differently? We spend our lives getting to where we are, and we've got the, what are we going to do in the journey to where we are today? How will we start on the journey we want to be on tomorrow? Where's that first step? Doesn't matter how big or small it is. And any question you're asking, is this a step in the right direction? Finding that step is important. It creates change. You know you can change. You can build momentum. I look, when I started these workshops, how I felt and how I felt really, that real sense of anxiety is what is going to happen. And I know that anxiety has gone because actually I enjoy what I'm doing. And as I prepare each week, and as I think each week, as I present each week, I'm actually learning because it's an opportunity to reflect, verbalizing and speaking out what I'm thinking. Just helps me notice the learnings, where I am, where I'm on my journey, and what is next. So hopefully you've got some thoughts to take away today. If you've got any questions, please feel free to get in touch. I'd love to know your thoughts, what your takeaways are, any particular areas you'd really like me to focus on in the future. With a long list of things I might do, and it's just really focusing on what is of interest. If you want to connect with me, you can reach out on social media. If you want to book some time, you can use a QR code or link to my diary, or just send me an email at brian@brianpauljohnson.com. Thanks for your time today. If you've got any questions, please feel free to visit the chat now, or just come out, and always happy to take any questions or feedback. And that, I will hopefully see you next week. Thank you very much.